From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, Corner Pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Azan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
That's right. That is correct. That is correct. Welcome on in. It's a live edition of Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, questions from everybody on YouTube, and also talking about the number one player on the FSU preseason top 40, the worst kept secret in all of sports media this offseason. Thanks for being here. We are presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. CPTallybar.com is the website. Daily lunch specials, 11 a.m., 3 p.m., Monday through Friday, $8.99. Get a side dish of your choice as well. It's delicious. It's great because it's the Corner Pocket. You can also hit the QR code above Corey's noggin to go to the website, cptallybar.com. We're also live, so Vitamin Energy keeping us boosted throughout the evening. We usually do this in the mornings, right, Corey? We usually do this show in the morning. We're up this evening because we have Vitamin Energy coursing through our veins, 260 milligrams of natural caffeine, no sugars, no sugar crash, plenty of vitamins, essential nutrients, mango, tropical berry, tango orange flavors. Feels good when it hits the palate. Feels good when Corey's dulcet tones hits the eardrums. Corey, how are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Get ready to, as soon as we're done here, I get to get on the road and head to beautiful Hoover, Alabama for the second time in a month.
Oh,
so,
hey.
Looking forward to that.
Hey, sorry for you want Brady to apologize for being great at baseball? Sorry, Dad.
I mean, they take your money whether you're great or not. But hey, let's hope he gets there.
A reminder as well, too, if you could please hit that thumbs up button, we certainly would appreciate it. That'd be great. Subscribe to our website. We've got Corner Pocket. We've got Vitamin Energy plaster all over the screen here. Our good friends over at Garnet and Gold also helping out our members and our subscribers with a promo. But if you want to put your business attached to what we do here at warchant.com, we got pregame, postgame shows. We have the Warchant Report. We have the Warchant Wrap. I mean, imagine your company's name, blah, whatever it is, presenting the Warchant Wrap. Ira, Corey, 20,000 people watching it. Business might start booming. It might start booming.
It is probably the Warchant Wrap with Ira and I after games or after practices, which we'll do a little bit in August. It is probably our most consistently watched piece of content on YouTube, which is crazy. Yeah. I mean, sometimes, and this is through no fault of your own, but it doesn't get up until like 2:30 in the morning after one of these crazy night games. And then I'll wake up on Sunday and it'll have 10 or 12,000 views and just keep going. You guys are the best. Hey, get your name on it. If you want your business, or if you just want to put your name on it, like literally your surname, your first and last name, as long as you give us enough money, we'll present it. Warchant Wrap presented by John Smith or
Wesley
Becky
Todd.
Allen, whatever you want.
Yeah, Wesley Todd says hit that smash button. We hope you all do that. So we appreciate it. Mike says he's polishing off a PBR, getting ready for the best damn Seminole coverage anywhere. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that.
PBR, nice.
Check is in the mail. Octavio says, can we talk about the upcoming season? Recruiting is making me sad.
Come on, Octavio.
What? Come on.
What are they, like 12th? They're like 12th in the country, right? 12th or 13th?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
Give it a few more weeks, man. There's a 5-star out there. We feel pretty good about him. So, and remember the portal, everybody. I admire it, though, right, Corey? Like, you're a Florida State fan. You're used to greatness. You've grown accustomed to greatness. It's some little, ebbs and flows, but nonetheless, greatness on the whole. So you always are like hyper competitive. You want to win in everything, especially recruiting. But it's maybe not a marathon because December is that signing period. But wait till the end of this month before you start getting really sad and using sad emojis. Don't use the sad emoji, Octavia.
And I would also say, like, if Jimbo had the 14th or 12th or whatever it is ranked class in the country on July, 12th, nobody would be freaking out. Same with Bobby in the 90s and early 2000s. You guys wouldn't be freaking out because the cavalry's coming, and at the end of the day, Jimbo is going to get you a top 5 class, sometimes top 3, sometimes top 1. Norvell hasn't proven that yet. So if there's one, I get a little bit of angst. Because coming off the season they came off, you'd like to be ranked a little higher. But again, it is July 12th, and there are plenty of big fish still out there that they're in on.
Indeed. Let's see here.
This chair's squeaky.
I'm not. It's you look like you're king of the castle, You see your armrest and everything. Very
Brady's video game chair, which is the nicest chair in the house by pretty wide margin, which I need to rectify that.
Is he playing video games right now? Might need to tell him to get
No,
off the
and if
internet.
he is, he's in a hard kitchen chair that I normally have to sit in or on the floor. So probably not.
Your internet's being a little bit dicey, so let's hope it tightens up
Oh,
here.
Sorry, man. I'm wired
Hardware?
in.
All right. Well, maybe it's me. Maybe MetroNet's not as great after all. But they're great. It's incredible. It's FSU Day on the ACC Network. For those that don't know, softball against Tennessee is on right now. The 2022 game against Florida is next. Lots of good programming to select from, I guess, even in this most recent season. I saw you retweet a little Josie Muffley love, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Softball still
yeah.
standing to you.
Well, her highlight package is ridiculous, but I would say, number one, when it's an FSU takeover on the ACC Network, do they all have to be games from the last 8 months? Can we not see something from 1996? An old school? But also, I did think it was funny that the basketball game they showed was the comeback against Miami, where Matthew Cleveland hits the game winner against does the upside down U. It is now a part of that team and that program. So I thought that was pretty ironic.
Life comes at you fast, they say. Quantrell wants to know, at what point will fan burnout become a real factor? From NIL, collective payments, rising ticket prices, athletic departments needing donations, feels like the onus is on the fan more than ever.
It's a really good question because as I compare college football to the NFL, and it's more and more like the NFL every day, the one thing you don't count on the fans to do in the NFL is put together a roster and a coaching staff and make them stay. You know what I mean? Like everybody gets the same amount of money in the NFL. But I do get that, like, it's not like if the Falcons got 10,000 extra season tickets, they'd go get that free agent. The money they get to spend is the money they get to spend. Everybody has the same cap, and they're all billionaires. So I do see that a little bit where it's NIL collectives, you're building facilities, the prices keep going up. I don't know if it'll be a burnout factor because I just think people are so hardwired. Hopefully, like my internet now is, to be college football fans that I don't see it like dissipating that much. But I get it, man. I can understand. I don't have to pay to go watch football games. And I know a lot of people that do. And I can understand how it would get to be a little taxing more and more and more. It's never enough. And it's never going to be enough because it's just the price of business will keep going up.
I don't know if this is like the cynic take or the optimistic take, but, when things weren't going all that well in 2019, you're doing the math in your head and you're saying to yourself, there's like no way Florida State can possibly afford to get rid of Willie Taggart, hire a new coach, and then all of a sudden somehow the money is found. Feel like at a place like this, and I don't want to like jinx it or sound like a spoiled, petulant child, it just always seems to work out, Corey. Like the Battle's End's doing great things. That started from a small, it was like one or two guys, right? It was Ingram and his guy. Like that's also kind of now expanded a little bit. There's a little bit more help aiding that sort of benefit. So I feel like, when it's really important to people, it just somehow always seems to find its way. But John Q, Florida State fan, if this doesn't work out, they're going for it all. Remember, that's the hashtag. I think everything feels great, right? But man, you check back maybe at the end of September if they lose to LSU and Clemson, maybe the burnout is kicking in at that point. But right now, it's just hard to think about it. It's a good question though. But with so much optimism right now, Corey, it's hard to imagine it slowing down. But it's losing is what accelerates.
It's also a little bit more Florida State specific, right? Like you were trying to compete with Florida. Well, Florida doesn't have some of the economic challenges that you do. You know what I mean? If you want to be on par with Alabama, Auburn, and Florida, which are all going to be making $35 million, $40 million a year more than you annually because of when the TV contract gets renewed, the onus is on the fan more, the boosters to pick up the pace, to whittle down that margin. So there is more onus on the teams like Florida State, like Clemson. I don't know, man. Anybody in the Pac-12 that really cares about football? Washington, I guess. I don't know.
Oregon, they care.
Yeah, sure. But they have Bill Knight. They have a benefactor. So the teams that are trying to compete nationally but don't get the same amount of TV revenue as the people they're competing with, the onus is more on those fans, those fan bases than a Georgia fan base.
All right, let's go to Garrett, PCL. If you could mic up two players and one coach for the LSU game, who would they be? but he's taken Jordan and Verse and Norvell off the menu.
Atkins?
I was either Atkins or Odell.
Atkins. Always Atkins. And
Get
then
low.
Shaheem?
Okay.
I just feel like, number one, Shaheem's going to say some funny stuff, but also he's a safety that will probably be having to communicate a lot, and I think it would be very interesting to hear what he's shouting and saying. Tatum would be another one. Bethune would be a good one. And then offensively, who would you think?
I like Maurice, Jaheim. I feel like Jaheim will give people the business between the whistle, you know.
Johnny doesn't seem like much of a trash talker, but I bet Keon is a little bit. I feel like Keon might have a little bit of that in him. So maybe Keon would be my other one.
Let's see here. Garrett says he would go with we could get Maurice Smith. We can hear all the checks being called at the line. He would go with he goes Jaheim Bell, Kalen DeLoach, and Tokars. Tokars in the booth though. I don't know if I feel like I need the raw primal element of being on the field and feeling the adrenaline coursing through the veins.
Well, I'm also legitimately interested in how much Atkins is talking to Norvell during the game about the actual game plan and the offensive play calling. We know he's yelling at the offensive linemen when they come off the field and going over their sets and who they're supposed to be blocking and all that in their assignments. But I would also like to know, I think it would be pretty enlightening to know how much he's involved with the actual down-to-down, play-to-play play calling of it.
Mike with a good suggestion. Anytime Robert Scott talks, it's gold. Yeah. I feel like he would have really polite discourse between the whistle and stuff. Ooh, almost got me with the swim there. Having to swim, but you did it. You did it. First down, Noles. If you could be on headset with the offensive staff or defensive staff, would you pick offensive staff?
Yes. Yeah, because Atkins and Norvell, I'd like to hear their back and forth, their communication, and Tokars too, for that matter. I'd like to know the communication that goes from the box down to Norvell and Atkins, and I just think that stuff is fascinating.
Mike Blackburn talking about ACC takeovers. On the other hand, it might have been more satisfying seeing that Miami's highlight game and their takeover day was a midnight kickoff against Bethune-Cookman.
Nice. So they won that one. That's good to know. There you go, Canes.
It was tough to pick. All right, so every offseason we do this, right? We do the preseason top 40. We talk about the best players on the roster, biggest impact we anticipate them having. And this season, wasn't too different. I don't know the background changed on me, but I spent time doing this graphic, so we're going to use this graphic again, gosh darn it, Corey.
Okay.
We unveiled the number 1 pick earlier today, but Fabian Lovett checked in at number 5. I mean, grown man.
Yeah. Been
playing Power 5 football since 2019. Trey Benson, 2 years removed now from a knee injury, bigger, stronger, showing us what he can do. Johnny Wilson, 6'7". Good luck defending him. And then you have Jared Verse at defensive end, surefire first-round NFL pick. Yeah. And then you have a quarterback that's on every preseason list, Heisman, Johnny Unitas, Golden Arm, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty good place to be right now, right, Corey? Nice high cotton there in these days when you got this kind of talent, kind of spearheading thing.
Did they tell the defensive guys not to smile? Is it like a passport photo when you're not supposed to smile if you're on defense because you want to look menacing, but offense, you're always happy because you're scoring a lot?
Could be.
Is that why Johnny and Trey had smiles on their face and Fabian and Jared were grimacing? We didn't get to see is Jordan Travis smiling on his? Do we know?
No, he's stoic.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, he's acting like he's a leader. He's been there before. There was no real mystery to this one, was there, Aslan? Who the number 1 player on the list was? He is probably, he's obviously the most important player on this team, and he's got to be he could be one of the 5 to 8 most important players in the country this season, depending on how it shakes out. He's that good, that talented. I forgot that in the Florida game, I knew he had the 2 runs, and I knew he had a bunch of drop passes. But I think he had, because I just wrote it, I think he had 340 total yards in that game, and then followed that up with 450 total yards or 460 total yards against Oklahoma. That's pretty cool. It's pretty good to have a guy like that coming back for another season. That's pretty neat.
How does it happen to where he's the number 1 player on this team? How can you go back and look at 2020? Yeah. You're in Miami Gardens. You throw the poor kid out there. on some kind of half-baked trick play, gadget play. He gets blown into Bolivian. Shout out Mike Tyson. They scoop and score en route to trouncing you and hanging half 100 on you. 2 years later, you could have hung half 100 on them and chose not to. Now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. How in the hell how are we here, Corey? Are we really here? I'm pinching myself, people on the podcast. How did we get here?
Yeah, it's crazy because Jordan was good all season. He was not, I mean, he was good to very good all season. And then those last two games, when I was going back writing the story about him being number one, I'm like, golly, this is Charlie Jameis type stuff. And he didn't play with the same amount of talent those guys did. And he was making guys look foolish. He had great games. He had great moments late in games. And I just think, again, we talked about this last week, I think it was last week that all the credit goes to him. I mean, look, he's been developed. Tokars has helped. Dillingham gets a lot of credit for believing in him, maybe even more than his head coach did back in the day when he first started for this football team.
Mm-hmm.
But give it up to Jordan Travis, man. Like usually guys in their third year of college football kind of are what they are. And I thought Jordan Travis was going to be honestly, kind of like a Chris Ricks, could make some throws with his arm, was a good athlete. He could hit some throws downfield, but he wasn't the quarterback he wasn't a quote unquote prototypical quarterback that could stand in the pocket and dice up a defense. He was either going to see somebody open or he was going to try to run for a first down and do it with his legs. And man, he has grown so much. That Oklahoma game, again, he threw for 418 yards. They didn't have a running game in that game. They had a running game all year, except in that game, and they still won because of his right arm. And I think Oklahoma and Brent Venables probably went into that game thinking, look, I've played this kid. I played him last year. We were going to play him the year before that, but then they told us we couldn't because of COVID. He can't beat us with his right arm. I think we're going to, if we take the running game away from Florida State, we're going to win. And the guy threw for 418 on him. So all the credit goes to Jordan Travis, man. He worked really, really hard. He believed in himself, and he's turned himself from an average, adequate quarterback that could make some plays with his legs to one of the very best players in the United States.
What is Jordan?
Credit to him, right? Because this isn't normal. I guess that was what I was trying to say. This isn't normal to take the leap he's taken in a year and a half or 2 years. That's not what usually the 2021, let's say the 2021 Syracuse Jordan Travis or North Carolina Jordan Travis. He was good in that game, but only threw like 13 times. That was the guy I thought we'd have. That's who I thought the ceiling was. It turns out that was like a middle floor, and he's gone so much higher than I thought he could go.
I mean, I don't want to use the Joe Burrow comparison, but it's like the only one that comes to mind.
Let's do it. Use it. Go ahead, man. He is the next Joe Burrow.
I mean, Joe Burrow, he threw 16 touchdowns, 5 picks in a season where, I don't know, they might have gone 10-3. I don't even know what LSU was in 2018. Let me check real quick. Yeah, they were 10-3. Look at that. And then the next season, he throws 60 touchdowns and 6 interceptions.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to put that kind of pressure on you, Jordan. But what does he do for an encore, Corey? I mean, is it just sustaining what he did those last 2 games against Florida, Oklahoma, or are we talking about a guy that just is going to see the field so well, knows where it's got to go, has the proper tools around him, playmakers, protection, that, we're going to see something borderline special, transcendent this year?
Yeah, I think there's a chance you see that, because the one thing he didn't have was he had moments in 2021 and 2020 for that matter, but he didn't have sustained success. And I just think there is a confidence that comes with not only playing well, but winning games and winning a lot of games. And I think there's nothing he will see this year that he hasn't seen before. He's already been to Clemson. He didn't play well at Clemson, but he's been there and lived that. He's played that life. He's lived that life. He knows what to expect now. And I just think, I've talked about it a lot, but that experience of being great, he's lived it. It's not aspirational. Like, man, I hope one day I can be a great college quarterback. He's done it. He's lived it. He is. Like Oklahoma and Florida, he was the best player on the field, and it was not close. He was really good against LSU too. In most of the games that mattered late in the year or at the beginning of the year, he was very, very good. And I just think that must fill him with more confidence than he's ever had. He's also old. That helps too.
I was gonna mention that. I saw you retweet a retweet that he did, where I don't know if it was On 3 or Pro Football Folks or somebody put up a content tweet about, like, who feels like they've been playing college football forever. And it was like a photo of Stetson Bennett. And I think Jordan retweeted that with like a smiling emoji. And then you retweeted that as well. Like, it's a funny kind of tongue-in-cheek thing, but like he's arrived at the station, right? Like he knows what lies ahead for him in his career. And like, I just feel like maybe there's something about just feeling ready to take advantage of the moment, the urgency, and kind of like putting all your chips in the basket this year, because everybody around you is doing it, right? Like all the support that you're getting, whether it's Battle's End or your teammates. Like, there's something to be said about feeling that kind of last season swan song, a last dance maybe, and taking advantage of it, I feel.
Sure. And I also think, again, with the experience and the age, it kind of reminds me of Winky in 2000. Obviously, he's not as old as Winky was. Winky, I think, was 28 that final year. But Winky had played a ton of football. He had won a national championship. He'd won a bunch of games. And he went into that 2000 season just so cocksure about how good he was. He knew he was awesome, and he knew they were going to win when they stepped on the field. And I think Jordan Travis might have that in him too, that he knows he's awesome. It's not, again, it's not he hopes he's awesome. He knows he's really good. And he will not be overwhelmed or intimidated when he's in Death Valley. He will not be overwhelmed when he's playing LSU on national TV on a Sunday night. I just think he's got everything you'd want for a college quarterback for a season like this. Just keep him healthy.
Chris Winkie was 28 years old heading into that 2000 season. So good job, Corey. Not that I doubted you, but just, sometimes
I did it. Finally.
I like to go back and just let everybody know that, we're checking in on things. So you folks should be checking in on warchant.com, be a subscriber, and you can take advantage of great things like Garnet and Gold Warchant Days starting this Wednesday coming up here, July 19th. 1 day for subscribers, 25% off purchases from the College Vault, which is the old logo. Some might say the superior logo.
Man, that's awesome. Look at that. Look at that bag, man. Wouldn't you want that bag? Like that tote bag right there?
On these days, subscribers will have exclusive access for special deals and discounts. Again, 25% off all purchases from the Vault collection this coming Wednesday for our subscribers. So take advantage of it. You also get 10% off, I think, every single day. Online and in store when you're a member of warchant.com. Again, yes, this is in store or online. So if you're our guy Gator Kirk in Virginia, or you're a guy out in Colorado whose name escapes me right now that came to the Miami game, boom, you can do it online. So check that out. Rob Kraus on the topic of age, Corey. Does FSU have the Wake effect this year? Old quarterback, older team, carries them some big wins over equally or more talented teams, perhaps LSU and Clemson in this example.
Well, let's hope. Yeah, I mean, I don't. When I look at Clemson's roster, they probably have more blue chip talent, but not by a ton. I think those are pretty even rosters. I think every time Wake beat a team like Florida State or beat a team like Clemson or hung with Clemson and took them to overtime, that was a much less talented roster rising up and doing. So I wouldn't call this Wake necessarily. It almost seems, I don't know. And look, Wake's owned Florida State recently, but that almost seems like an insult to the talent that's on the current Florida State team to equate them with a Wake Forest team, which is really dumb for me to say because Florida State never beats Wake Forest. So, Rob, it's a very fair, good question. I do think that that the younger 4- and 5-star talent that LSU and Clemson has can certainly be nullified to an extent by the older players and good players, not just old. You don't want a bunch of old 2-stars. That's not going to do any good. Older and good college football players on Florida State's sideline. Like, would you rather have, Akeem Dent or a 5-star freshman safety at Clemson? You know what I mean? Like, who's going to be better in that game? Who's going to make more plays in that game? That's maybe where Florida State comes out ahead, even though Akeem Dent clearly hasn't lived up to a 5-star billing that he had coming out of high school. He is a solid college football player. So is Tatum Bethune. So is Kalen DeLoach. And so are all the dudes on offense.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Robert D in the house, dropping $20 in the jar, getting the party started.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you, Robert. Corey Aslan, rock stars as always. We should pay you $20 for saying that. What player outside the top 5 do you think is most likely to end up in the top 5 when the season plays out? Who would they supplant? Ooh. Let me see if I can pull up the top 40 here, Corey, so you can see what I'm maybe dealing with here. So, I mean, I guess we can take the easy way out and say Jaheim Bell.
I'm going to say Keon Coleman.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
And in supplanting, I mean, come on now. Out of Fabian, I guess Fabian because he's 5th.
So what? You're going to pick Keon and you're going to still have Johnny Wilson there?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think they could both be big reasons why Florida State is good this year.
Okay.
Like who would in LSU? You mentioned that Burrow team. Who would have been LSU's top 5 most important players on that team? Obviously, Burrow was one, and then didn't he have 3 incredible receivers?
Yeah, Jefferson and Chase. Yeah, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. I forgot the third one.
I feel like there was another one that was the
Yeah,
next year.
He had Randy Moss's kid.
Yeah, but he wasn't
tight end.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I would think if you looked at the top 5, if you were doing the Tiger top 40 that year, Tiger Bait top 40, Burrow's one, and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson are 2 or 3, vice versa. I'm not saying Wilson and Coleman or Jefferson and Chase. Don't get me wrong, folks. I'm not saying that, but you could see how two receivers could make a huge difference.
Terrence Marshall Jr. Was the 3rd leading receiver, 46 catches, 671 yards. Randy Moss's kid caught 47 for 570 and 4 tutties.
Whatever. The whole team did. He threw for 60 of them.
It's amazing, man. Amazing. So, yeah, not a bad sort of situation to be in. But yeah, I'll go with you on that too. I guess Keon probably has the most upside of that group. I wonder if there's anybody like even further down that could just really be like real big time dark horse. I mean, I guess maybe Fentrell Cypress if he taps into his, his all ACC kind of credentials. And listen, I'm not looking for technique out wide. And when they're playing defense, I'm following the ball. Sorry, everybody. But like if we hear Coach Fuller in Monday press conferences talk about what Fentrell's doing, or we hear, just some comments just from these coaches talk about what he's been doing for the defense, and maybe that's the reason why they're seeing improvement. Maybe that's a guy that has a chance to shoot up there.
What about Shaheem?
Man, you love Shaheem. I do too. Yeah.
Man, if Shaheem has a breakout season, like an all ACC type season, that would be enormous for this football team to have somebody at that level of the defense, specifically safety. That's a playmaking safety. Jamie Robinson was awesome, but he played a little closer to the line of scrimmage. He was more of a tackler than a, pass interceptor. But if Shaheem can be a guy that goes and makes plays, is rangy and gets you 6 picks, and turns games around, that way, gives you the ball back quicker. I mean, that would be a huge. I could see him if he finished in the top 5. That would be really big for the defense. And again, Lovett is great, but if you look at that list that Aslan has up there, you've got 3 other defensive tackles in the top 18. So you've got 4 of your top 18 guys are defensive tackles. So that's why I think maybe he might be pushed down a little bit, in another position would usurp him.
The James B, I think he's asking for it. It's late, but we can still play it. For good old time's sake, Corey.
Right.
Corey and Aslan. We'll see y'all next year.
Yep. That's right.
Jeffrey Jaycox with a smoldering hot take. My computer got overheating. I got to put some water on it. Patrick Payton supplanting Jared Verse.
Okay. All right.
Woo.
Would that be a good thing or a worrisome thing? I feel like if Patrick Payton is outplaying Jared Verse, it either means Patrick Payton is the next Lawrence Taylor, or Jared Verse has not played up to his. Something has happened to Jared Verse.
Well, that's the verb. If he's outplaying him,
yes. If he's outplaying him, then maybe Jared Verse is still Bruce Smith, and Patrick Payton becomes Reggie White, man, or one of the Watt brothers.
Okay.
Or one of the who's the Bosas? It could be like 2 Bosas. Yeah.
Micah Parsons. Hey, I mean, we got Johnny and Keon out wide. Why can't we not have two Hall of
Yeah,
Famers?
you already got Jefferson and Chase out wide on this team. Why not have the Boses on the defensive end? Or who'd you say? Parsons? Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah. Golly, I think my brother was telling me the other day. I'm a Niner fan. He's a huge Niners fan. But like they could have had him. They could have had him and Nick Bosa.
I mean, you still need a quarterback to score some points.
Yeah. Well, Kyle Shanahan figures it out, at least for three quarters.
You're right. Yeah, exactly right.
Jason Brown. What up, Jason? Does Destyn Hill score a touchdown this season at kick returner or punt returner?
I like that in Jason's world, he's definitely scoring one. It's just how.
Right.
I would think the chances are much better at kick returner. I don't know that a guy that hasn't played football in 2.5 or 3 years or whatever it's been is going to be back there catching punts. They're a lot more risky, a lot more turnover prone back there, a lot more decision making. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's returning kicks. So that would be my choice, kick returner.
Oh man. Like, do I want to do it in Doak and just hear the place just absolutely go nuts, or do I want to hear it in the swamp and just like a pin drop and just that little pocket, corner end zone, just going nuts, jumping up and down?
Maybe Orlando. Would you not want to hear it in Orlando?
I'll take it early. I'll take my returns early. I don't want to wait for the stew. I don't want it to marinate. If I had to pick, I mean, does anybody return punts for touchdowns anymore? A kick returner, probably just in terms of percentages. I'll go with that.
Yeah, the guys kick them too high. They roll out all the way to the sideline, and so the whole coverage team has already encircled the returner when he's catching it.
Let's double dip here. The GOAT asks, do you guys think coming in next year, A.J. Duffy would be the starter, or will it be somebody else? James Gavins says, as we look ahead to this season and the beauty that can and will happen, what is a hypothetical outlook on next year? What's our potential ceiling and the worst case scenario floor? I think potential ceiling, Corey, as well. Like, you've established yourself as playoff team, national championship team. You are a destination. You're a place where you can come as a quarterback and put up numbers, a place for playmakers, if you will. Like, they'll continue to reload. They'll fill in the gaps that they have on this roster through the portal. And you're back to being on top in the ACC. Like, that's kind of, I don't want to put ceiling in winning the ACC, but like, go get the next great quarterback that's available, plug him into the system, and still compete for a playoff spot, because there'll be 12 teams by that time.
Yeah.
Floor, like worst case floor. Man, I don't know. This whole thing was Jordan Travis holding up Mike Norvell, and you're back to 6-7 wins and eking out third-tier bowl games.
Yeah.
That's worst case.
Yeah.
We've lived through worse than that, Corey, so I feel bad.
We actually have, yes. We that floor, we've seen the floor be a lot lower than that. I would agree with that. I think your ceiling next year, it's hard to know because you just don't know the roster. And you don't know who's coming back. But
aren't you creating something with the way the season plays out that we think, right, Corey?
You are right, but as somebody pointed out on headlines, 9 of the top 10 players in our top 40 are transfers. Now, that doesn't mean they transferred in ready-made. Like Jordan Travis he was a transfer, but he had done nothing in college. Trey Benson had done nothing in college. Johnny Wilson had done nothing in college. But Patrick Payton's the only one in the top 10 that started here. So as these guys cycle off the roster, are there younger guys that you've recruited that have developed in the program? They're going to step in those spots, because you're not going to have a whole team of transfers.
Why not? You can keep doing this.
Yeah, I guess you can, but I want to see. It's just so hard to answer before this season's even been played. I do want to see what some of these guys look like. I want to see what Joshua Farmer looks like, and Rodney Hill and Shaheem Brown and guys like that before I know what kind of roster they're going to have, how many holes they're going to have to fill. But the biggest hole will certainly be quarterback, because you're losing a really good one. And to go to the other question, personally, you're just asking me, Corey Clark, on July 12th of 2023, I do not think A.J. Duffy will be the starter in 2024. I do think it will be somebody else. And by the way, did you see, and not that I'm predicting Kromenhoek would be the starter, but I think On3 has him now as the number 3 overall quarterback in the country.
That is correct.
That's pretty cool. Correct. And some hotshot rising sophomore from around these parts in Georgia is considered the best quarterback in the country, regardless of classification, which is nuts. He has Florida State in his top 8, Aslan. They made the top 8. So
Juju, I want to say, is
Juju, yeah. Yep.
might be.
Yeah, Brady was telling me about him. He did account for like
Lewis.
50 touchdowns as a freshman and led this team to a state championship in Georgia in a high classification. So he must be pretty good.
Oh yeah, we. I mean, I can do it with you as well. But I think he got brought up on one of the recruiting chats at Langston, and we brought up his recruiting tape, and it was absurd.
As a freshman.
Yeah. So there he is. Only 6'1.5", though.
Yeah.
Come on, Juju.
Yep.
Come on, Juju.
He's still growing. He might just be 14 years old, Aslan. Who knows?
Yeah. Asa Crusoe, what position group from LSU or Clemson would you trade ours for? I think everyone in the comments section said linebacker. I haven't looked at either of their depth charts. I don't think LSU's got great linebackers. I feel like maybe
they got the Perkins kid, right?
Well, yeah, that's right.
So you would trade your entire linebackers for him.
Right. Yeah. Harold
Perkins. So no offense to Tatum and Kalen and the gang and Brian Courtney. Maybe he's the next Harold Perkins. But yeah, Perkins is going to be probably, I would guess, a top 10 pick whenever he comes out of college. And you would definitely trade your linebackers for a superstar like that.
I would not trade whatever's in this bottle for what's in this bottle.
Amen.
That's Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com, promo code WarChampBOGO. Buy one, get one free when you use that promo code, courtesy of our good friends at VitaminEnergy.com. They're Noles, all ACC caliber athlete Noles.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that they probably would have been All-American if they had Vitamin Energy back then, Corey, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's probably why they created it. It's like they needed that little extra boost, just like we do on our show, just like you guys will need in your lives and your chosen careers and professions. If they had that back then, they probably wouldn't even created it because they would have been winning gold medals. They wouldn't have had to go into real business, but they did, and we're all luckier for it.
You look on their website, there's a get 25% off promo, but again, they're hooking you folks up because you're Florida State fans. And you listen to the show, and they like our show. We love them. VitaminEnergy.com, promo code WarChampBOGO, BOGO, 260 milligrams of natural caffeine, no sugar crash, no jitters, just vitamins and energy. VitaminEnergy.com, energy with benefits. Shake it, take it. Mike's back. Mike's got good questions after having the PBR flowing through the veins. Well, Warchant talked to the LSU media like last year. I enjoy the insight of other teams. Trying, Mike. I'm trying. They're a tough bunch to get hold of. But yeah, we plan to have the publisher or one of the folks from the On3 LSU website to hop on. If not, I know Brody over at the Athletic site, so maybe I'll have him hop on too. But yeah, it's about that time, Corey. Like we're 50-ish days away. It's time to start looking at depth charts and matchups. So we'll certainly do it. You like doing interviews, right, Corey?
I do, and I feel like we're locked and loaded with rosters now, right? Like there won't be any additions in the next 3 weeks, will there? I guess the portal
Northwestern, right?
Well, yeah, they're going to come flooding the portal, I guess. And those are the kind of guys you want for your culture, right? You want to bring that. They can introduce some stuff that maybe you haven't been doing in the locker room. Good grief, Aslan, you were never on a football team, were you?
No.
Have you ever been hazed?
No, but I don't know if I've probably had to earn my stripes doing something.
You've probably done the hazing.
No, but I mean, I picked on kids. I'm not proud of it, but yeah, I mean, I remember we had a kid on our hockey team. We had like a sleepover the night before, like our season opener, like a senior year of high school, and like we put toothpaste in his hair. But
hey, a little trick, folks, if you're a little younger. I've seen this work in person. If somebody's asleep, you just dip their hand in that warm water, and it go. I don't know why they did it. My buddy did it at his house on his couch to his friend, but it got everywhere. And what are you gonna do? That's good-natured hazing.
Yes,
we can all get behind that. That's good-natured. The stuff that was going on at Northwestern, little creepy.
Jeffrey's back to clarify his Patrick Payton out playing Jared Verse. He just thinks that perhaps Jared Verse might get double-teamed a bunch, which would allow Patrick to feast.
It certainly would allow whoever the tackle it. That man, again, if they can stay healthy, if you're talking about Patrick Payton and Jared Verse on the ends, and then Fabian Lovett Fisk, Fabian Lovett Daryl Jackson Farmer Fit, like whoever it is in the middle, if they're playing up to that's really good, man. That's a really good defensive line. You can't double all of them. So yeah, hopefully if Peyton and Burst have similar stats this year, both like over 10 or 11 sacks in that neighborhood, that would be again one of the best defensive end combos in the country, maybe the best.
Let's see here, Chris Hendricks. When we make the playoff, who would y'all want to match up against?
Georgia.
All right. I'd love to beat Ohio State, but it's also like I'd hate to lose Ohio State. So,
yeah. Well, right. I just think Georgia, I don't know. I guess it's because they were playing Ohio State, not TCU, but I know that they've been to the playoff 3 times. Is that right? 4? But they've had, I think it's 3, but they've had 2 really, really close semifinal wins. One over Oklahoma and Baker Mayfield in overtime, and then this one. So maybe you get them then. Maybe that's when you're supposed to strike when they're in the. But they won both those games, so it's probably not the smartest take I've ever had. TCU. That's my answer. TCU. That's who you want. Bowling Green.
Whoever comes out of the Big 12. Hey, of course, a bit of a trick question. Do you know the last time a team lost their conference championship game but still made it into the playoff?
No. Alabama? Ohio State?
Well, somebody asked Ira and I on the Smash about what if Florida State goes 12-0 but then loses in the conference championship game? Would they still get in the playoff? And Ira was a little bit skeptical. He's like, man, I don't know. If they went like 12-0 the way Jameis and them did and then lost, maybe like you'd have to look so impressive those first 12 games to lay an egg. But then I'm like, Georgia lost to Bryce Young in the conference championship game 2 years ago, ended up getting the rematch in the title game and won. But then somebody pointed out, they're like, duh, last year, TCU.
Oh, that's right. So it happens every year.
Yeah, and TCU did not look like Jameis and the 2013 Noles and still managed to lose that game and then get it. Maybe because last year, I guess it depends on what else is going on around the country, but there's precedent for that happening.
Well, the problem would be like TCU, I can't remember who they lost to, but it wasn't somebody that was
Kansas
challenging.
State. It was Kansas State.
They weren't challenging for a playoff spot. Yeah. Clemson might be challenging for a playoff spot. And if you lose to Clemson and they have to pick one of the two, and both of you are 12-1, and you've both gone 1-1 against each other, do they pick the team that won on the other team's home field, which you would have done in September? But that's September. Or do they pick the team that just won a de facto playoff game in December? So that I could see Florida State getting. But if Clemson's 9-3 and they beat you, and you've won all the other games, and you've beaten LSU, and LSU's had a good season, and Clemson's 9-3. Maybe I don't know. It's hard to imagine, but maybe an ACC team gets in, even though they didn't win their conference.
Yeah. All right, Derek Neal, the high school quarterbacks that Norvell has recruited have different skill sets than Jordan, if you will. How different will our offense look?
Look, he's had guys. I think he had a guy at Arizona State that ran a lot.
Taylor Kelly.
Yeah, but the guy at Memphis didn't run at all.
Brady White.
There you go. Thank you, Aslan. Their names are almost meaningless. No, but I like that Aslan still has it locked and loaded. But that guy won a ton of games and threw for a ton of yards. I think the Oklahoma game is kind of what and look, Jordan Travis ran for like 400 yards last year. He wasn't running for 1,200. They don't use him a lot, probably as much as they should, in my opinion, in short yardage. But just like 3rd and 3, just have him go. But he's not Tim Tebow. He's not 6'5", 250. But Clemson used to do that all the time with Deshaun Watson too. 3rd and 2, they're just running him off tackle. They don't do that a lot. But I don't think Norvell is looking for guys that are going to run for 700 or 800 yards. I think a lot of that early on with Jordan was out of necessity because nobody could block and nobody could get open. Well, now he's got guys that can get open and guys that can block, and he won't have to use his legs as much, theoretically. Again, though, they don't beat Florida if he doesn't have those two scrambly dudes that set up touchdowns. So that'll be an adjustment. Is you won't have a guy that makes people look silly, perhaps escaping pressure in the pocket like Jordan Travis has done for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I mean because that's what it comes down to, right? Like because if you go back and you look at the way Memphis played, whether it was like Riley Ferguson or whether it was Brady White or like Mike Bercovici, if we want to go back to like the days in Tempe, I mean, he's still going to run. He's still going to run 11 personnel or whatever, right? He's always going to have like 3 receivers, 1 running back, 1 tight end. Like he's going to have the same formation, the same sets. And like you said, like Jordan, a lot of what Jordan did was prototypical quarterback play, man. I mean, maybe there's some stuff that
there's that element. He has that element. He has the element that maybe Tate Rodemaker doesn't have. But Rodemaker's not a horrible. They're not recruiting statues. Like these guys, Brock Glenn can move. Duffy can move. They're not Jordan Travis because who is? But they can move enough that they can keep you honest with their legs. But he is not probably going to have. He might not ever coach another quarterback like this. That is that dynamic with his legs because there just aren't that many walking around on earth.
Philip Morris, not sure of the tobacco magnet. Would you rather have DeMarcus Walker, Telvin Smith, or Derwin James to put this 2023 team over the top? Derwin. Next question.
Yeah.
We need safeties, right? I mean,
well, Telvin was a real deal linebacker and an all-pro NFL linebacker. But I think in this instance, all 3 really good college players.
I feel like you're perpetuating. I love Telvin. I don't know if he ever was all pro. I'll have to look at it.
Pro bowler. Pro bowler. I know they're different. I meant pro bowler. I think he was a pro bowler. He should have been. He led the league in tackles a couple years. Not just his team, but he led the league in tackles.
2017. Yeah. Second team all pro, and it was a Pro Bowl selection in 17.
I did it again, gang. Aslan doubted me, and I came through. I can't believe it. The streak continues.
When will he learn?
Yes, I think in that instance, all 3 are very good players. All 3 were very good college players. In fact, you could probably argue that Derwin was the least accomplished of those college at college. Yeah. But you go with the most talented, and Derwin is the most talented of those 3. He's one of the most talented safeties that's ever lived. So you go with him and you throw him in your backfield, and you assume that's going to win you an extra game.
Yeah, somebody asked on the Smash, like, what NFL position group would you take to put Florida State over the top? And we're like, well, it's got to be secondary. And I'm like, I'm on PFF trying to find who's got the best secondary. And I think coverage-wise, the Jets graded out. I'm like, yeah, give us Sauce Gardner. And I'm like, no, just give us our guys back. Like, give us the Chargers. Give us Derwin and Asante.
That's not bad, yeah. Jalen, you could throw Jalen in there. I know he's not with the Chargers, but he's still in that area, right? Doesn't he play in the same stadium?
No, he's the Dolphins now, Jalen.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting that. Is that why he's pretending to be a Heat fan, or has he always been a Heat fan?
I don't know.
He was tweeting a lot about the Heat, and he wants Dame Lillard to come to Miami. And it was funny too about Ramsey. Again, you just forget. So you don't forget, but it's sometimes out of the brain. But there was a clip of him just playing pickup basketball, and as you can imagine,
yes,
he's doing pretty well in this pickup basketball game with ordinary guys, and he's just going full court and dunking off one leg, off 2 legs. It doesn't even look like he's exploding, and it's like, man, this guy is such a flippin' freak. Oh yeah, he was an All-American in track on the long jump, and could have probably at least had a chance to get to the U.S. trials and maybe get to the Olympics in track and field. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't play basketball. Well, we don't need him. I don't care. I don't care about him shooting threes. But this right here, just easy, not even trying. And if you can't watch this on the podcast, but that one, it's like 2 hard dribbles and then go dunk. And again, he's not 6'6". But he makes it look like he's 6'9", just an easy jump and dunking. But he's a very twitchy guy. very twitchy guy. And he was an incredible athlete, one of the best that's ever been here. And I remember, since we're going to, I'll reminisce a little bit. When Jalen left after the 15 season, which was Derwin's freshman year. And I was talking with Jimbo as we were walking off. I think it was after a bowl practice before the 15 season's bowl practice. And I'm like, man, Jalen's going to knock it out of the park at the combine, right? And Jimbo just was like, rolled his eyes, stopped, and was like, oh, they won't have seen many things like him. And I'm like, and Derwin's got to be close to that, right? I know he's not quite the athlete that Jalen is, but Jimbo was like, wait, no. Derwin's every bit the athlete that Jalen Ramsey is. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because Derwin was just a freshman then. He played safety. Ramsey was a corner. But, yeah, Derwin was a freak of an athlete. And I remember asking him, he grew up in Haines City, and I remember asking him at a media day, when did he know he was a great athlete? Like, what age and what was he doing when he realized, man, I'm just different? And he goes, I guess it was when I was 12 and I could jump over cars. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a pretty good sign that you're different than most people when you're just jumping over the hood of a car. As a 12-year-old standing flat-footed, could jump from one end of the car to the other. So there you go, little Derwin James story for you.
I don't have it ready queued up. I knew where you're going with that, but it always reminds me of like the that commercial that Kobe did, where like a car comes speeding at him and he like jumps over it.
I don't think he was doing this because that looks dangerous. I hope he wasn't. I think he was literally jumping over cars as a 12-year-old.
Yeah, they're parked. Yeah.
Let's hope they were parked. I don't know how they do in Haines City.
I don't want to say I need to see your pay stub, Trey, but Trey Lucan says that after working 100 hours in 7 days, I'm off to watch the show live. Love the content, gentlemen.
I hope you're not a pilot. You guys need rest, or a doctor for that matter.
You know who needs no rest? This man,
James B.
What? What?
James B. Right there on the pillar. Name and tomahawk. That means 2 official sanctioned war chant events. We've got details hopefully coming soon, everybody, for the Orlando game against LSU. We have a lot of options planned, so if you can't make it to one of them, you have no excuse. You'll be able to see Corey or Jeff or Tom or Ira or Gene or myself or Michael, Matt, all of us. So, James B., thank you, man. Can't say enough.
James B., I think I'm going to see you in a couple weeks, buddy, at the big wedding. I can't wait, man. But thank you very much. You're always way too kind. You know that.
Hey, guys, I bought a ticket for the FSU Hall of Fame induction ceremony this year. Did it earlier today. What do you think of the inductees? I think it's a great class. Eduardo Perez. Shout out, Eduardo.
Yep.
Finally getting the love, right?
Eduardo. Rodney Hudson, right?
Yes, that's right. Rodney Hudson's on there as well. Oops.
What happened, Aslan? You did so well. What happened?
It's their new redesigned website at Seminoles.com. All these things. Pedro Grafal was on it after all. Sue. Coach Sue. All right.
Yep. Well, list them all out.
Well, I can't. I don't know who's between Eduardo and Coach Sue and who's to the side of Coach Sue either. But actually, I can just read probably.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Ricardo Chambers, who was a track standout 2005, 2007. Pedro Grafal. Is he a head coach right now? Royals?
Yes.
Rodney Hudson, Leslie Malarich, Tiffany McCarty, Eduardo Perez, Kelly Rowland, Coach Sue Semrau, and Dr. Francis Cannon.
Kelly Rowland and Destiny's Child?
Say my name. I think so, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Bills. So, nice class, 6 p.m. at the Champions Club, $75 for a ticket. Look at that. So,
when is that? When is the ceremony?
Friday, September 8th. So, before the Southern Miss game, I guess, right?
But I can't imagine Grafal can be there. If he's managing in the major leagues, I wouldn't think.
Maybe he'll do something over Zoom.
All right, good. Yeah, that's really cool. And he was a very good baseball player. It's cool that he and Eduardo they were teammates for 3 years and they're going in the same time. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. There you go. So just shows you, man, this entire program. I mean, I don't know, programs, I guess that's singling thing out. This athletic program at Florida State for so long has been cranking out so many special folks. So it's awesome, man. It's crazy. I remember, like, obviously, when I came to Florida State and just being such a huge fan of the football program, and then like discovering stuff like Gabby Reese went here. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, she went to Florida State?
No.
And then I'm like, Dave Cowan. Like, Dave Cowan's went to Florida State. I know that sounds crazy, sacrilege for a guy that covers Florida State, but I'm talking about like 15-year-old Aslan, pre-internet, not knowing, being able to look everything up and not being able to watch. There was no ACC network showing you every Florida State basketball game and showing old.
Right. Not like there is today. You can't get enough Florida State coverage on the ACC network today.
So yeah, man, just greatness everywhere, all corners of this campus. Marcus W says, guys, Duke could beat Clemson. That's the upset I'm expecting.
So that's only a 12-point spread, right? Isn't that what you said the other day when we were doing my bookie?
Let's do it again, Corey.
Okay. Marcus, thank you for that.
Boom. Look at that. Yeah. So I'll pull it up. You can add some color to it, Corey. Yeah, man. Mike Elko, Riley Leonard. Man, a little danger there. A little danger.
Yeah, sure.
MyBookie.ag, promo code WARCHANT. Use it when you sign up. Instant cash deposit bonus. Great slate in week 1. Great slate. Look at that. 12 points. Duke is catching. I think it's on a neutral site, though, so don't get tricked. I think it is. I should probably triple check that. I think it's. I thought it was
in Atlanta. I thought it was the Mercedes.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I could be 100% wrong, but yeah, I thought it was. Maybe it is at Duke. Like, that seems low to me.
And I know it is. It's at Wallace Way. Never mind. I take it back, everybody. So, 12 points at home too. Come on.
I mean, there's going to be almost as many Clemson fans as Duke fans there, and it just seems like that's a tricky line. That's a sneak. Like, when was the last time Duke was within 2 touchdowns of Clemson? Ooh, look at that game.
Yeah.
When is that game? When is Alabama and Texas?
Alabama, Texas. That is the 9th.
Okay.
Oh, so I guess maybe that's week 2 then. You got some games that are ahead of the others. And they know everyone's looking ahead to that one. Then obviously you can bet futures. Look at that. Look at that value. Look at that value.
Still staying at 2,000, huh?
Yeah. Can't block it out there. Anyhow, go to mybookie.ag. You've got winners in mind. You can go to the casino. You can do live betting. You can bet on futures. Baseball, second half is about to start, so you've seen plenty of data. You know who's going to win and where. When you bet, go to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code WARCHANT. Congrats, by the way, Corey. So the Braves will have home field advantage in the World Series, I guess, now?
I guess so. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So when I go to Tampa for the World Series, for those 3, it'll only be 3 games instead of 4. So that's pretty nice.
Would you ever go to every single game of a World Series? Like, if you had that, like, if it was like Tampa and Atlanta, that's probably the logistically most feasible one to pull it off, right?
I mean, the money though is
yeah.
I mean, and I have season tickets to the Braves game, so I think I'd get first dibs on World Series tickets. But I think they're like $650 a ticket, or just for like normal priced. So no, to answer your question, I would not. I can't afford it. Okay. Even with greats like James B. helping me out, I still couldn't afford to go to every single World Series. I don't know how people do it, man. I don't know how people do it.
Miss Carol Palalis asks, when does fall practice start? Who do you think will be the surprising player from spring to fall for each of you? Keep up the great comprehensive coverage.
We think it starts, it's about a month out from the first game, so we're assuming August 3rd. Okay. August 3rd, August 4th. Sometime in there will be when it starts. And from spring to fall, I'd like to see take a step up, and I don't know how much he'd play anyway, because it's a pretty deep position. I want to see Hakeem Williams, what he looks like after these last 3 or 4 months, because he was big superstar, 5-star guy coming in here, and it had to, boil his blood a little bit that the other freshman receiver was getting all the love and making all the plays. I want to see how he responded to that this offseason, what he looks like once August comes around. That said, I don't expect him to be a huge difference maker in 2023.
Yeah, hey, man. He wasn't on the preseason top 40.
Nope.
He might have let that stick in his craw, I guess some would say. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Let's see if I can sift through all of it. I don't know if we have I'm not going to call him a troll.
What are we doing then?
Well, no, I just want to get a balance of things here. Christian Burris says Jordan Travis is not better than Jaden Daniels. Jordan benefits off playing in a weak conference like the ACC.
Okay.
So let's go here, and then I can try to filter it out, I guess, by what do we want to do for like minimum dropbacks? Is that the way to do it? Like,
Well, look, man, if you're going by PFF, Jordan was the highest graded.
You know what I'm saying? So Jordan's 11th on this list here. This is
What is
based
that?
on passing grade. This is just your passing grade.
Yeah,
only.
but he was the highest ranked overall player, overall quarterback in the country, and the second highest. I think it was the highest ranked ACC offensive player in the country, and he was the highest ranked quarterback in the country. He's really good. Jane Daniels is not a bad football player, and he's played a ton. He's good. He'll be one of the best ones they play this year. I mean,
So he's,
cool.
I don't know, man. Maybe post bowl game, some of these other guys snuck around, but this is sorting it based on offensive grade. And Jordan's 8th, Jaden Daniels is 12th. But Jordan, other than Drake May and Frank Harris, I think are back.
Okay.
But so is Caleb. But yeah, Bryce Young ain't there. Hendon Hooker's not there. I don't even think Clayton Toon's there any longer. But yeah, so that's analytics, Christian, being objective. So, but we appreciate you hopping on, saying your piece.
Plus, J-Trav is 1-0. No,
Yeah.
he's not. He's 1-1. He lost to him in the Sun Bowl.
Oh,
Back
well,
in
he
the-
doesn't get that on the record. That doesn't
he
go
still
on.
played. He played in the game. He played quarterback some in that game. So Jane Daniels and him are 1-1. It's the rubber match between these two.
All right, last question on the way out. Our guy, Young Bleak. If the defense improves from last season, who do you think will be the biggest reason why?
Look, the one weakness that Florida State had as a football team last year, the biggest weakness they had was stopping the run. There were quite a few games where teams kind of ran at will up the middle and ran for a lot of yards, including the last one. And that should have been rectified. So I'm going to say pick one of the defensive tackles, including Fabian Lovett, not just the new guys, because Fabian Lovett didn't play last year, hardly. So let's say Fabian Lovett. Shaheem Brown's a good answer, too, if he has a great season. But I just think last year, the way you moved the ball against Florida State was you ran on them. Well, this year, it's going to be a lot harder to run on them because they have a quartet of defensive tackles. Assuming Jackson gets his waiver, they have a quartet of defensive tackles that are probably better than any of the ones they had last year. And obviously, they had Lovett last year, but he was not healthy and didn't play. Robert Cooper was not healthy. Farmer's a year older and much better. And obviously, they didn't have Braden Fisk or Jackson. These guys, it's night and day, the defensive tackle room from what it was last year. So I think that will be the biggest reason why.
It's crazy when you look at these numbers, these traditional, conventional stats from last year. 10th in total offense, 13th in rushing offense. I mean, they're in the teens or the top 30 in everything other than rushing defense. There's 74, which it's not embarrassing.
That's not great.
It's not.
But
I'll
you
say
think
Fisk,
about what
we
LSU did.
We both put Fisk high on our list. So
Yeah.
I'm saying Fisk over Fabian. There we go. I said it. Took a stand.
All right, just to be that guy. But yeah, but it's going to be the defensive front will be the reason why they're better. Because with that quartet of defensive tackles, if they're all healthy, they're not going to have the 74th best rushing defense. It should be top 25. So you're going from giving up 156 yards a game rushing to, 110, 100. I don't know. I don't know what the top 20, the 21 rushing defense gave up last year. But you're talking about 40 or 50 extra yards. And, it just helps everything. It just helps everything when you stop the run and teams don't have 2nd and 4, they have 2nd and 9, which LSU did for the entire game when Fabian Lovett was healthy. They did not run the ball. Jane Daniels did because Jane Daniels can run around. But the running backs did nothing against Florida State, nothing of note, really. And Fabian Lovett was healthy. That's the difference he makes.
LSU fan listening to this would say, well, our offensive line was completely different week 12 than what they were week 1 and what they'll be week 1 this year.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
Again,
but the point being Florida State,
Daryl Jackson are here now too. So, that's where they play the games, everybody.
That's why we're all going to be there in Orlando on September 3rd.
Thanks everybody for joining, asking questions, even the LSU fan. It's fine. You're welcome here. We can all talk and hang out and be mature adults. Special shout out to Robert D. and James B. Hit the thumbs up on the way out. We certainly would appreciate it. Corey's got to be a dad, but I might try to hustle him for one more show this week. Maybe a mailbag. Maybe a thread will be posted on the Warchant Tribal Council here. So check that out. Hit the thumbs up on the way out. Thumbs up, rather, on the way out. We'd appreciate that. Subscribe to warchant.com. Don't forget, members of warchant.com can take advantage of great savings at Garnet and Gold online and in-store. 25% off your college vault purchase starting this coming Wednesday, the 19th. You don't want to miss out on it, so do it. For Corey, I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening, watching this live edition of Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill and Vitamin Energy. Give us some deuces, Corey. It's been a minute, feel like.